afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to CJ Scott, and we're coming to you live. Sorry and apologies for coming in a bit late. For those of you who are planning to do something else, but also, you felt like you really got to watch this particular discussion. Today we're talking about mental wellness. I know there are people who say this is very close to them and they would want to be part of the discussion. As we always say, we set up the jury, but the verdict is with you. And what an amazing panel that I have today that I'll be introducing in a very short while. So go ahead and share the stream as well. Host a watch party if you can. Tag your friends. Let us know that you are here because we want to interact with you. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, CJ Atemo, please do that right now. Follow us on every social media platform. CJ Scott Official on Instagram, CJ Scott Official on Facebook, CJ Scott on Facebook, and CJ Scott 1 on Twitter as well. Faith Vata Musilu, Ruth Ambogo. Ruth, it's good to see you online, but we need to see you face to face. Kari Kogi Karanja, good to see you as well. Each and every one of you who's joining us, please let us know that you're joining in the conversation and you watching us. It's going to be exciting. I've got a lady who is very passionate about mental wellness, just owning your personal space. She talks about it a lot. She's not new to us on CJ Scott, a great friend of mine as well, the show host of the hottest show anywhere, Sizzle and Hot, Annitah Raey. Good. Yeah, we've missed you as well. And thanks for coming and coming through. Then I've got a gentleman. He was last year. He was telling us that he was last year on Father's Day, around Father's Day. Yeah, Dr. Omondi Ojino. It's good to have you here.
Good to have you. Good to see you, CJ.
Yeah.
I was here 3 months ago. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's quite been a while. COVID, I don't know whether it has done you well or not, but you put on some weight.
They closed the gym, so we are hoping for...
You were the one who you were on the show where we were talking about lifestyle audit.
Yes.
And we were talking about, how people are healthier.
Well, how people just need to wash their hands and sneeze in their elbows. We did talk about interaction with the fridge.
All right, but it's good to have you. And then we've got Grace Ekirapa again. Grace doesn't need much introduction as well. The show host of Crossover on NTV. What a lot of people don't know is that she's a psychologist. A trained one, right?
Yes. Trained and practicing.
Yes, so this is going to be very exciting for us as well. Mark Kipto, it's good to see you here. Please, guys, share the stream. Get in touch with us, let us know. Frank Moller has started the conversation already. He says mental strength is like muscle strength. No one has unlimited supply. Mental toughness builds the foundations for long-term success. And while at it, pray. Well, man, Frank, you started too deep. Right, then there's Adera James, who is saying, listening from Kisarian. Phoebe Atieno, wonderful show already. Stella Mwega, Oliver, who is joining from Texas, and Dory Magdalene, and who is tuned in and ready. I want to start with you, Annitah. This is something that is so close to you. You deal with the young people on your shows every time. WHO, according to what I was reading, let me just get that very clear, that as at the 10th of October, the data from WHO was, it estimated that 1,408 people commit suicide yearly, and that is Kenya. We're talking about Kenya, which is roughly about 4 people per day. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, their report for 2018 was different, like 421, but WHO as of 10th of October this year is like 1,408 people committing suicide every year.
I think this year has been really hard, CJ, to be honest. On people, on myself, having to deal with this kind of people. I think the hardest time after I left here, I think it's been 2 months. I think a month ago someone called on air and they said, I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to kill my kids. And I was like, I don't have your number. What am I supposed to do? I'm on air, And I broke down and I was like, let's cry together. Don't hang up on me though. because I don't know what to do. I can't get your number. I can't ask for it. We are live on here.
Right.
I can't actually ask for your number. And I'm asking him not to hang up. And I'm like, just hold on for like 5 minutes. Let's get this going. And you see, his problem was I don't have a job. My wife left apparently. He's young. He's 28. I have 2 kids. Where do I start? I don't have anything to feed them with. My mom is also struggling in Shags. She was like, don't bring me kids, mkona corona, you know.
Yeah.
And it was such a situation. People have had to find themselves during corona. You're spending time with yourself. You don't have a job. People don't like themselves that much. People don't even know themselves. Right. So you're having to wake up every single day and look at yourself in the mirror and see the good, the bad, the ugly, realize I'm not a good person, I have toxic traits, maybe I have, then you feel like you're not even worth living, because most people in our generation don't have purpose, unless it's a job or it's social life. No, both are taken away.
Right.
You can't go partying, you can't go hanging out with your friends, and you can't go to work. So what do they have? Now that's when you realize you have nothing. You don't have close friends, CJ. You don't have people you can talk to. You actually don't have a relationship with your family.
Yeah.
No, you're on your own and you feel like you're worthless. You start having, and you see Kenyans ignore mental health.
Yeah.
People are dealing with anxiety. This month is ADHD month. I have ADHD. It makes you so anxious for nothing, you know. And I was saying, people don't even know that. Even if you have it, you're like, the anxiety isn't even to Zawazungu. You have PTSD, like, isn't even to Zawazungu. Like, we are Kenyans, what is this? You know, people are treating themselves. A lady told me on Twitter, I'm looking for antidepressants because I feel depressed. I was like, how do you feel depressed? Like, it's, you know, that's the problem. We're having so many issues that we don't want to deal with. And when we go home, CJ, our generation is a generation of drugs and addictions.
Yeah.
So instead of you dealing with it, you're going to drink yourself to sleep.
Right.
Right now, I was telling people, the closing down was not helping people because people are becoming alcoholics in their own houses. You can't deal with yourself. You watch TV, you get bored. You just open a bottle. Others, as you said, run to a fridge. Others have decided to become cooks. Others discovered they can be comedians. Everybody opened a YouTube
So
channel.
we were, everybody was running in a certain way.
In a different direction, because you don't want, do you know the biggest fear? CJ, after I left here, I got sick. I was in hospital for like 10 days. And then I realized that was my biggest fear. I didn't want to be alone. I was so scared. I was like, oh Lord, don't leave me alone. I don't like my demons. They're not good. You know, like, don't leave me alone.
Well, they're not good demons.
And I was so scared. But then I was asked to learn how to meditate. Like, just concentrate because of my diseases. And just concentrate. And then I realized that's our biggest problem. You don't want to look at yourself. You don't want to analyze yourself. You don't want to talk to yourself. You don't want to deal with yourself. It's such a hard job that nobody wants to do it. So what do we do? Drink. We're Kenyans. Party hard, illegally party, get caught partying again. You know. I'm just saying the problem with us, CJ, even as grown-ups, we are running.
All right.
Because nobody wants to look inside.
Right.
You'd rather see his mistakes than see your own mistakes.
Absolutely.
It's
Right.
way easier. That's why we have a generation of insulting people on Twitter. It's easier to insult someone else than
Trolling,
yourself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And Doc, you know, why are we running, man? Why are we running?
You see, CJ, we have 2 things here. There is who people are, and then there is what they do.
Okay.
And so, generally, when we get born in a system that has already been predetermined.
Okay.
Like I get born, and then I am supposed to do this, I am supposed to go to this school, I'm supposed to take this subject, so that I get this particular job, so that my parents can be looked at as successful parents because of what they did to me. So a lot of people, because of being indoctrinated into a system, they never get an opportunity to find out who they really are. People end up defining themselves with what they do. Right. So normally what happens, if something like COVID comes to show up and it takes away from you what you do, you don't have the space to do it, you don't have the time to do it because of the restrictions and all, people all of a sudden are faced with the reality of they have to face themselves. Okay. And one of the things that people don't do, just like Ray has said, people don't take time to face themselves and to see who they are. A few people who try to do that, they cannot withstand the fact that they are facing themselves for the first time. So you run away from yourself. So when I look at Annitah, I think she's a bully. I think she's selfish. I think she's a troll, I think she's a failure, I think she's immoral, because it distracts me from myself.
Okay.
And so we are, so long as you are running away from who you are likely to get into mental problems when circumstances or situations really force you to get to face who you really are.
Yeah.
So I think maybe even going forward, we should encourage a culture of people knowing who they are, their identity, and the things that they can and they cannot do, so that when what you do is taken away from you, you don't fall into depression because you think your identity has been taken away.
And Grace, you just weigh in on this. Like, because what I'm picking up is like, we have worn these clothes of what we do and all this.
That's right.
So we are mostly hit when we're naked before the mirror.
Yes.
That's when we suddenly discover who we are perceived to be, and what we have projected ourselves to be is very different from who we are. And probably sometimes we don't really like who we are. No friends, no sound relationships. We are not as successful as we want people to think that we are. We are probably buried in debt, but showing off a car or a house, talking about I've moved into this neighborhood, but you know that you are totally struggling to even meet those bills and stuff. So when you come back home to yourself, you're facing the naked you. What is it, Grace, that makes us find it so difficult just to face ourselves? I know Doc has talked about, we were trained to think in a certain way. Culture. But what is this basic thing that makes it easier for me to look at Annitah and want to make myself feel better because I'm comparing myself to Annitah?
I think these people should be counselors. I was listening to them and I'm like, what am I doing here? You brought in everything I could have said. You've brought in the aspect, and I think they mentioned the place of hiding and running away from self. As a psychologist, the first thing, or a counselor, when I get a client, the first thing I do with them is to bring them to self-actualize. Awareness of self, which is very difficult. Why? Because we come from a system where you grow up and you are on the move. There's literally no time you spend knowing and finding out who you are. That's why we find people in their 50s discovering who they are, 60s taking time to find who am I really, because you spend a whole time, most of your years pushing and pursuing the wrong thing. And you brought in the aspect of showing off and pegging our identity on stuff. We have physical things, we have material things, we have followings, we have structures that we want to show off as being us, because we have a wall we've created we don't want to deal with, because it's hard. We don't want to face whatever you find in there, because you're not equipped to handle it.
Right.
Even if you start facing it, you're not equipped to handle it.
Right.
That's why somebody will go for a counseling session after they've accepted that it's not for Azungus, because now is when we are agreeing that counseling is for everyone.
This thing is not African.
It's not. Yeah, people used to think counseling was only for the white people, because they're like, how do you sit down and talk for an hour?
But we come from the culture where mental issues were nearly looked at as either a curse or witchcraft.
Yes.
There was such stereotyping.
Demons, yeah. It's because we were not learned. Most people were not informed. I don't think there were times when they would go and sit and have, they had debriefs, groups for debriefing, but they were, after the evening, dinner, you go and sit around the fireplace and you start sharing. But there was no in-depth, because there was nobody to supervise or to guide.
When you talk about we were not informed or we were not schooled, I remember a case of the late Vice President Kijano Amalwa. Yeah. His brother, the current CS, is it for water and something?
Eugene.
As educated as he is, he still held to the traditional belief that he would go to London to bring back the spirit of his brother. Education, I don't think, has ever been our problem. I don't think it is education. Because that's a very learned guy.
Yeah.
Eugene Wamalo is very educated.
Yes.
But he still felt like his brother's spirit was in the UK.
Yes.
And they had to go and perform this ritual years later that we're now going to bring the spirit of our brother back. The cultural aspect that I'm looking at, I think it affected even educated people.
I think education is important. You can be educated, but you have to have an open mind. Why? Because I remember there's an MP, you said an MP, or I remember there was a time, this guy used to switch off his lights in shags because he was saving on power, and he has enough money to pay for electricity. You know, I think he trended for a while. The thing is, and that's, I think they say you can take a shao guy to the town, but you cannot take his shao. It's the thing, you have to have an open mind. The thing with us is we're so, you know, tight in everything. We are holding on to, you know, if we let go, we're letting go of our ancestors, of our beliefs and stuff. We are refusing to accept what is actually helpful because we've pegged it to the Wazungus.
Right.
We think if we appreciate this aspect where we bring in counselors, we are allowing the whites to again to come and take over. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we are refusing to look at the positive side simply because we are so stuck up into what we think has been the system. And so I think one, accepting and understanding that help can come from outside is one thing that is very important for us to accept. We need to know that a counselor coming to help you is not saying that now you're demon possessed and now you're, because that is the stereotype around counseling. Yeah. You find someone coming out of a counseling session and people are looking at them like, hey, you know, this is Madari case.
Yeah.
And the term, sorry, the naming has now made us very scared. We don't want to seek for help. We don't want to speak about our issues.
You know, you talk about that, bringing up a very important aspect, and Annitah, you may weigh in on it, that people think when you talk about mental wellness, you're talking about you're insane. Like a crack case, you know, so even the family. Yeah.
I think it's sad. The first time I talked about my mental health issues was in 2018. You hosted me, right? Yeah. Talking about it because when you say people are like, I remember one of my bosses saying, so umechizi ama, I was like, wow. And I told them, but already you say I'm crazy, so this is not new, right? Like, we are a good level, I'm just admitting I'm crazy. And you see, that's a problem. The first thing, even you tell your parents you have a mental health issue, like, so because us growing up on wazimu ni mtu anaokota makaratasi. So are you gonna, when are you picking those papers? Because we need to have a, like, I need to be so that we hide you, because now we need to hide. And the worst thing is that when you react normally, like a normal person, like you get angry, Annitah, don't flip. You're like, what do you mean don't flip? You're like, tease them, like, God. Like, you get, so people just will always use that against you.
Yeah,
it's so sad. And the other day someone said the reason people, mostly men, keep quiet about mental health, someone is going to use that against you.
Yeah.
And nothing is more hurtful than you sitting down and saying, I have extreme depression, I have PTSD, and I have ADHD. You can imagine telling people that, they're like, what are those? Yeah. I'm like, it's a long process. The point is, I have anxiety and depression, one of the two. Right. And then, but when you tell someone that, then at some point you get anxious, like me, I get really anxious sometimes. I start shaking, they're like, and they use that against you. You will never tell anybody else. You're like, I'm dealing with my demons. But the mentality people have is, if you have a mental health issue, no matter what, whether it's panic attacks or just normal stress, they actually will jokingly, and you see people mock you, you're like, it's not funny. It's not, it doesn't even need mathare. Actually, most people don't even take meds. You just need a counselor. You just need a good psychologist, a good psychiatrist, you know. But Kenyans don't take that in. And mostly, one thing I've learned the hard way, don't go telling people about mental health issues on social media. Right. Because there will come one crazy person out of 100 who's going to tell you something that is going to turn you suicidal overnight. Exactly. Because they'll come and say such harsh things, and you see you're going to lie to yourself, you're okay. Imagine you won't, because of someone with mental health issues, you will not be okay. CJ, this week I was trolled for something I said jokingly on Sunday, and I laughed about it, and I forgot about it. Then I wake up on Monday, and there's a blog on one of these blogs that wait for me to talk every day. And people went south, and they went so personal. People looked for my own number, personal number, to text me insults. You know, that's extreme.
Yeah. Aren't we sick, Doc? Aren't we sick? Just the fact that, okay, well, Annitah will own up and say, look, I'm dealing with this issue.
Yes.
But aren't we sick, and we're projecting it on social media, and we're not even aware that we are sick?
I think she's talked about PTSD and ADHD. So for those who are wondering, that's traumatic stress disorder and attention deficit disorder.
Right.
And just to rein in on what she's saying, just to go back to the context of our culture and society, especially for men, there's a particular way men are supposed to be. You are supposed to be strong.
Yeah.
You are not weak. You are not a woman. You are not a crybaby. I mean, for those cultures that believe in initiation into manhood, where you are taken into extreme environmental conditions for you to become a man. You are told from this side of the knife forward, you are supposed to be the man.
Right.
So what happens is a 16, 15-year-old boy begins to grow knowing that I am not supposed to express any form of weakness or to admit that there is an event or situation that is bringing me down. But my argument has always been, you see, mental wellness or issues of mental health are as medical as any other issue.
All right.
And you see, the way we go to town, we come back.
And you're not, sorry to cut you, but you are not responsible for that. It's not
No,
that
it's not your fault.
It's not your fault
It's not
that
your
you have
fault.
it's like going to town and then you catch a cold. When you come back in the evening, you can't breathe, you need to call your doctor, or maybe you've gone to a restaurant or a wedding and then you get enteritis, you know, you're having tummy problems. You're not responsible for it.
Right.
So because we are interacting with an environment, we interact with physical things, but also we interact with events and situations.
Right.
And those events and situations can affect how we think and how we behave. You find someone was abused when they were young. You find someone who was abandoned. You find someone who took up responsibility when they were very young.
Yeah.
And so they missed their childhood. They missed their teenage because they became adults too early.
Right.
So when they reach 40 or 45, they begin to look for that person that they never saw. Yeah. And it becomes a problem. So we are sick because of two things. Because we are told that you are not supposed to be sick.
All right.
And then number two, because there are certain people that look up to us. You see, for me, if I come out and say, look, CJ, I'm having a mental issue, a mental health issue, or I'm depressed, or I'm having attention deficit disorder, or whatever it is, people will be like, whoa. So every person that looks up to me will begin to think that I'm weak, that I can't lead.
So start to panic.
They start to panic because,
of
course, something is going wrong with you. I'm just thinking if Chris would one day come and tell us, you know, guys, CJ Scott will take a halt because I'm going for treatment. People will all panic because we look up to him. So what happens is people put up a face. And they try
You'll be shocked at how this. In fact, people will come up with. I always suspected there was.
I'll be like, he looked too composed. He was too composed.
He started putting on yellow pants and all that kind of stuff. Something was wrong.
There were signs.
All these things you are doing, it was just like to deflect people's attention from your issue.
To cover up. It was a
So
cover up
it's
for what you
okay to be unwell. It's
right.
okay to be. I think you've done a good book.
It is not well.
It is not well.
Yeah,
it is not well. You know,
Yeah.
it's okay to be unwell because that's the time you actually get help.
Yeah.
And we should stop stigmatizing people who are having mental health issues. Like she said, some of these guys, they just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You don't need like to be on antidepressants or to go to see an expensive psychiatrist.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let me just pick up a few. Lena Brooks saying, personally, I have seen and been with somebody close battling depression. It is sad. Speak out, talk to someone. It helps. Masoso Sidede, I hope I got that right. Always in. Prince Reynard Atella, we are a sad society taking happy pictures. Wait until they find someone to lash their pain and anger on. You'll know we are carrying pain within. Sometimes we actually just need to let those people lash because maybe you're helping them heal. The problem is that while they're healing, you get sick.
Exactly.
Frank Moller, the traditional education system was geared to produce intelligent, in quotes, rather than competent people, and that is what we are still good at. Having said that, there could be many exceptions as well. Let me see who else is here. Dennis, the revivalist, saying thanks, I am here. Sumu Gofo, is good to see you here, tagging in Emmy Joy. All right, and the rest of you who are here, Zibora Kamau, and all the rest of you as well. You know, I had a case of, actually I think I was saying that this week, one of our college mates was talking about the daughter. This really caught me. At about 16, tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
16-year-old took like 24 pills, something, given up on life, Grace. At that stage, she doesn't have bills, doesn't have mortgage, doesn't have stuff. Is it that we miss out on these signs? And for those who are younger, what could be the triggers of things like depression or suicide thoughts?
It's interesting you bring that, and I feel like I'm almost running out of breath. 16, 20, you said 24 pills.
Yeah.
I was 16 when I took 32.
Wow.
I was in Form 3. So when you mentioned, I got, you know, I was like, oh my God, this is my life coming back to me, and literally putting its, you know, placing itself in front. One of the things that was happening is I was ill, and nobody believed I was ill.
Okay.
You know, and so I was home most of the time.
That's very African, man.
Yeah.
That's very African. You know, you're dying and they go to school, you're trying to run away from school.
Yeah, my dad said I wanted to quit school, called a whole clan for me to be talked to and you know, to be told to go back. But they didn't understand what was happening. So what happened is I had pent up, you know, anxiety. I had everything going on to an extent. I actually had almost a mild stroke. So I lost feelings on my right side, my left, and my hand and my leg. That is when it caught their attention. Like, oh, okay, she can actually be truly sick, you know. And then that's when they start running around, oh, let's help. And in the beginning, I was trying to tell you I'm not okay, but you couldn't tell. You didn't give me the attention. So one of the things that a young girl or boy would be going through to an extent of wanting to commit suicide is, one, Annitah raised something. There could be things that happened to them when they were young.
Right.
Abuse. We live in a society where we have aunties and uncles living with us. Somebody has come from Shags, and the only place they can live in Nairobi is at our house. You get? Right. And at this house, we have young girls. And this is a boy who's finished high school, coming to look for work. You go to work, leave this boy with the girls in the house. You don't know what goes in there.
Right.
What goes on. So the girl all of a sudden begins to be very closed up. You don't understand why this baby who was very bubbly once all of a sudden is so, you know, quiet. It's because there's something happening to them and they can't talk to you because there's no room
for that conversation.
We have not allowed that space where your child can come and tell you, Mommy, Uncle is touching me badly. Yeah. He's doing this the wrong way. You know, we are having men and women who are living with us watching pornography and you know, freely, and the child is looking at that. So the baby is growing and their mind is you know, getting in tune with this, and slowly you're damaging somebody, or the child is getting damaged, but there's no space to come and tell you, because if they tell you, the mom will beat them, even to an extent where your own dad is molesting you. You can't tell your mom because your mom says ulijipeleka. You know what I mean? First of all, you'll be beaten. What are you saying? How dare you?
Just one of the things that happened during COVID time is we had a lot of cases of, you remember, of the teen pregnancies actually.
Yes.
And one of the arguments was, we normally say that teachers are responsible for teenage pregnancy. But here we have the girls at home. Schools are closed. Who are impregnating the girls?
Right.
So there were issues of not just these girls have boyfriends in the village and in the estates, there were issues also of incest. That there are people in our families who we stay with and they prey on children. And these children, because they know nothing, even their mind is virgin.
Exactly.
They can't come and tell you that when you are away, Uncle put this video up, or he was showing me this, or he told me to touch him in a particular place. So when that kid later comes to realize that, hey, what used to happen to me when I was young was not the right thing. When they come to know what sexuality and sex is all about, they can't really face themselves. So they are already in their late teens.
They are damaged.
They are damaged completely. I have met such people who have become zero. They are so desensitized that some of the people don't have body count. I mean, some people don't have, they can't even tell you the name of the person they have been with, because for them, they were so damaged and they can't recover.
And it's a revenge system. It's
yes,
almost like
it's actually a revenge system.
Yeah. Either they close in completely or they become now radical and they go out extremely.
Yes.
And it's purposely because they were damaged and they were hurt. And can I continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Another thing that would bring this damage, and before I move on, maybe parents should be very careful on how to deal with their children. Maintain that closeness. Create that very close relationship with your child that they can tell you anything and everything.
Yes.
Cousin Nani did this, neighbor Nani did this, they will come and tell you, and be friendly. Don't let them feel scared to tell you. Let that be their safe space. The second thing is social media. This is the age where parents are trying to keep their children accommodated or maybe distracted, so they buy them phones. And because my friend was on Instagram, I want to go into Instagram. Right. I open a page and I follow celebrities.
Yes.
Yeah, celebrities have a certain life.
Yeah.
Maybe they cannot afford it, but they're bringing it out there. You don't know they can't afford it, but you follow it anyway.
And you want it.
And you want it. So you find a 16-year-old girl or 15-year-old girl who's following a socialite who's moving from every part of the country, and they're saying, I want to be this girl. And they're not told this is what you pay for this kind of lifestyle.
Yes.
Nobody goes on social media and says, I have done this and this and this, gotten this amount of money to sustain my lifestyle.
Yes.
We all show that it's okay. We are getting it because of hard work.
Yes. Chris, what has happened? We'll share the time with you, don't worry. What has happened?
You're going to give me his time too.
We'll take it back to Annitah.
Okay.
What has happened is social media, Grace, has created a platform for people to portray perceptions.
Yeah.
So, maybe I just go to the English Point Marina to drop a check or to pick a parcel.
Maybe I'm an Uber driver.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, bombing at the English Point Marina, blah, 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 and so on. And you put it on your Instagram. So what happens to the teenagers is they're like, oh, this person is so young. They are so successful. Look at, like the way we are given cuisines and take a photo first. And
people no longer eat, they eat through the phone,
They eat through the phone.
Absolutely. It's like the phone that's eating. Yeah. So what happens is people begin to want a certain kind of life that is portrayed. But that life is not life in reality.
It's not.
So you begin to put even certain demands on, for me to get this kind of life, I have to maybe even date a particular kind of man who can be able to pay for that. And so, if it's a young girl, they begin to look for someone who doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And they become so depressed because every man they meet or every woman they meet
does not fit
into that. So you get into some sort of just illness.
Right.
We need to come back to reality.
Okay.
And we need to tell our teenagers and our children that life does not happen on social media.
Right.
Because social media is one of the things that makes a lot of people depressed. Just like you said, someone, you buy a Mercedes.
It's beyond even just the teenagers, because when you talk about social media and how it depresses
it's
people,
everyone.
Yes.
I think it actually depresses couples more than they do.
Oh yeah, I remember the story, CJ, of...
Why are you quiet?
I feel like he's taking the whole conversation, so I'm just listening and watching like everyone else.
Do you remember that there's a teenager who on Snapchat did a house tour of their house?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And what happened after that? There were a lot of people who were saying, house goals. I want to build a house like this.
But then it turned out to a troll as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it became
Not even
really
a troll.
troll.
He got his own dad into trouble. She got his own dad into trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she exposed a bit of something she was not supposed to expose.
Absolutely.
And now the dad had a corruption scandal a few years ago. So people are like, all right. So
Now
this
we know
is
where
where
the
our
money
money
has
went.
gone.
Came out.
You know why I'm quiet, TJ? Is because let me tell you something. Me and Grace are in the same industry, and it's a tricky industry. it's an industry where if you don't choose a clique or you don't conform to some ideologies, then you're alone. I've been in the industry for 7 years, CJ. Someone told me the other day it's going to take me another 7 to get famous, and I laughed. And I told them, it can take me 10. I'm not getting into any clique, you know. Yeah. I'm okay on my own. And I told them something Mina told me at some point. Be good enough to make your own clique. You don't have to join anybody's clique. If you're good enough, you have to... Because, CJ, the pressure in our industry to, first of all, look good. They will never approve of this look. I am not in heels. Are you kidding me? I am not in some Gucci things. You know what I mean? I hope you get what I mean. Yes. I'm not dressing. Someone literally told me yesterday when I was going to work, you know, you have to dress something. I was like, hey, wait. Personally, I dress what I see first. It's focus. Me, it is not about you. It's about me, like me. Like if I see that t-shirt first, that's how it goes. Unless it has something weird, I'm like, it's a Monday, let's go for this one. It's fine, you know. Yeah. And that's the thing. I've struggled. This is a joke. I've struggled to be myself in the industry. Yes. Right. Because it's so hard to be yourself. People want you to actually listen. To connect, click, so you travel, so you hey, how much are you charging? Oh, to go where? Why am I taking a loan? Someone told me the other day, why would you take a matatu and it's shameful? I was like, shameful for who? Which standards are you using to judge me? You know, yours or mine? Whose standards? Which society are you judging me with? You know, because in my society, I sit with a driver and hey, Annitah Raey mambo, and we have an amazing conversation. He doesn't expect me to have a car, you know. Yes. Right. You, on the other hand, you gari yako ni alone, nyumba yako ni alone. A certain artist who's very controversial mocked them and said, you're all living in loaned houses, driving loaned cars, struggling to feed your own kids so that you can please people you don't know on social media. But then it's become a competition. Grace posted a picture in the Bahamas. Na pengine mbele ya Mungu alikuwa ameenda kazi. No, you you didn't have fun, but you know you took a picture. So how she's genuinely working. Unaenda unaambia boyfriend yako mwenye ana struggle kufanya kazi.
I want to go to the Bahamas,
to the Maldives. Yes. You get, and that's the problem with us. We're trying. I keep asking people, who are you competing with?
Yes. Right.
Because on social media, CJ, I'm telling you the truth, it's a competition of I don't know what. I never even know what the prize is. Ask me what's the prize? Because even the people who actually seem to have it are still posting.
You know what the answer is? Yeah. We have pegged our successes to things. It's no longer happiness.
Sadly.
That's why somebody sang and said, I'd rather cry in a Range Rover and...
Than be happy I'd rather cry in Runda than to be happy in Kibra.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want you to tell me about, the weight of some of these statements that are made very lightly.
Yes.
Some people will throw them out there very lightly, but I want you to just weigh in on some of these statements. And somebody who sits over there and is listening and keeps on saying, okay, I'd rather cry in Runda. I'd rather cry in Runda than go elsewhere. And then some of them are actually in abusive relationships.
Absolutely. Most of them.
So now they have to stay there. Let me start with Annitah.
Can you not start like that? Because now when you start like that,
but I insist she wants to go first.
So now they have to stay in there, but they're cracking.
Yeah.
They're breaking. They're just falling apart, Annitah. What's the weight of some of the statements that we make lightly?
It's sad. Yeah. You see, like when you tell someone, Grace, why are you depressed and you have a job?
Yeah.
Doc, why are you stressed and you're a doctor? What's wrong with you? I mean, CJ, you're a pastor. Why do you have problems? You know, people say those things, and you actually, it weighs so heavily on you because they've already judged you. Yeah. They've already actually decided for you, you can't have problems because of maybe what you work, where you work, they have already judged you so harshly. So you tell a woman who's been beaten and maybe has bruises, a broken rib, hey, and she's there like, you know, you're killing her literally inside. And that has made so many women even afraid to leave, or so many people in toxic or abusive places. You're like, am I ungrateful? You can find a woman who's getting killed and then she asks herself, am I ungrateful? You know, CJ, am I not grateful for what I have? Because someone somewhere is dying in a Mabati house to live my life. Yeah. Am I not grateful? And so you find people are tied by small, and you see, it's a mental thing. I tell people, if you understood the power of your mind, it's just something small you tell someone and it keeps ringing. They're like, am I ungrateful? Ama ni mimi nafanyaga baba anipige. Ama akivete njijue yenyewe. Na nikitoka hapa nitaenda wapi? I should be grateful for Runda, right? Hata nilie. You know. And it's like a small line you told them. Ama you know pengine umeenda salon umeambia ati nilipigwa na baba nani. Wewe una complain unaishi kizuri. Wa mama
what happens, CJ, is people think that it is things that bring happiness. And someone thinks if I can be beaten in Kitisuru or in Runda, but I have a Range Rover, I'll be happy. Someone thinks it's better for me to be in an abusive relationship and I go for holiday at the Bahamas or in Zanzibar or Maldives. People do not know that happiness is not external. People need to, it's internal. Yeah, happiness is not external. There is nothing, it's like having too much money. How much is too much money? You know, if you get $1 billion today, like our politicians do, they want the next 5 billion. It's just insatiable. So there is nothing external.
Like I want $1 billion, man. I'm only looking for one.
1,000 million. We need to know that you can be happy without things. You need to define your happiness, like she said. You know, there's a video you put up, I think, earlier this week. On there are people who are saying, why are you taking a jab? And I mean, you're a doctor. You are taking an Uber, you are taking a Matatu, Embasava, or you know, those Kenyampia. And maybe it's just my vibe. You know, somebody says, you don't have a car, or if you have a car, why are you driving a Toyota? You've worked for 8 years, for 10 years. So what happens is you begin to feel there is a particular life I'm supposed to live because I'm a media personality, or I am a medic, or I am a lawyer, and you begin to try and marry your reality to
their expectations,
and it becomes chaotic for you. People should live their lives. The greatest thief of happiness is comparison. We should stop comparing our lives with each other. I don't know her. I don't know what she has, what she did to get. I don't know where she has come from. I don't know her context and background. It's different from mine. So if I just look at her and say, oh yeah, she has a gold ring, and my, you know, mine is gold-coated copper ring from Kirinyaga Road, you know, I begin to think that my man does not care for me, doesn't value me. And maybe her gold ring, actually she bought it for herself. You don't want to get into those details.
Before I forget what I want to say, I think, and I think we have this statement that we throw around very much and we abuse it. If you train a child in the way they should go, when they grow up, they will not forget. We live in a system where we are children, we are neighbors. We eat our meals, our ugali and sukuma wiki, very happily in a family. You guys eat chapo, one person is in the bedroom, the other one is in the kitchen. You don't have that, but I envy this just because it's chapo and this is ugali. You know, our parents, you know, find a way of taking, this parent doesn't have time to spend with the children, so she takes them or he takes them somewhere to play. Alafu ya nenda zake nini, your mom even takes time to play with you cards or your dad, but you're like, no, I envy this more, this is not what I want. So we've grown up and we have trained our children to want better things. What is looking good is what is actually good. We have forgotten that value system to be put in the house. We don't cultivate it in the home. So how do you expect a 15-year-old to start bending when you couldn't bend them when they were young? You know, so the thing is, we need to deal with this thing from the grassroots. When before social media, before phones, you didn't hear suicide cases that because someone feels I am not good enough. People would mind their own business. You have your shamba, go lima there.
They used to commit suicide for love.
Yeah, not that you are poor. Bring back those days.
Oh yeah, we need back those days.
But what is the problem is, the problem now is, like you're saying, comparing, but what are you comparing with is what you're seeing. You cannot compare with what you cannot see. So if only we could shut down social media, which I think will never happen, how do we learn now to deal with whatever is there, but now remind ourselves that this is not what I should be looking at?
I think people should just know.
I want to, because we have been at it several times. I know we could talk about this over and over, but I want us to just bring it moving forward a bit. I know, and I hope I'm right, that some cases, some people, they are genetically prone to go towards depression and stuff. But there are others that are triggered. Like the things we're talking about, like, you know, social media pressure, It has happened a lot, especially this year. There has been this kind of pressure that comes on people, the ones that Annitah is mentioning, people who are in the public. Then you keep on hearing a lot coming on because they're sinking into depression. There were no places to perform, nobody to make happy, nobody to sing to. You're totally alone, empty. You realize these fans don't care about you anymore. You're no longer entertaining them. They're not singing your songs. Everybody's in their house. You have no gigs. You have no money. You can't pay your bills. You cannot tell anybody that I have no food. I can't pay my rent and all of that.
The bank is after you.
Yeah. Now, for this kind of people whose mental wellness issues come from these externals, either abuse or pressure or whatever it is, I just want us in the next few minutes to try and give them a way out. Probably I start with you, Doc, so that I can monitor your time.
Please use your time.
In just 1 minute. Like, how do we reclaim our space?
I think we should find a way of helping people know that you need to know who you are. You need to know who you are. You need to know your identity very well and disconnect that identity to your environment. So that even if the environment changes, it is unlikely that it's going to affect you to such a degree. You need to know that what happens to you is not who you are. If you have failed somewhere before, you've had a failed marriage, you lost your job, your business is shut down like in this COVID period, you need to know that failure is not identity, it's an event. And so to disassociate ourselves with things that don't define us. I like what she said that, that in the industry she's in, she's told you are supposed to be a certain person, but she refuses to be that person because that is her. She wants to be her. So I think we should just try to find ways, if it's at family level or at our social
idea, So my therapist felt like I needed to do a journey. It was like a 20-day journey of finding myself. So every day I had to go back to childhood and remember who I was as a child. And that was very important for me because I learned how to meditate. And I would tell people, take time out and just drop everything. I deleted my social media for 2 weeks. Everybody thought I'll die. Everybody was sure I'm gonna die. And I did. And funny enough, I added a third week because it felt so good not being on social media. It felt so good. I was like, Lord, why do I have social media? I think if not for my job, CJ, I would not have come back to social media. Genuinely. I was so calm. I didn't care about notifications. I didn't even care who's liking me. Imagine I'm okay. And I realized I can actually avoid that when I want to. So nowadays, I just take me time. It's selfish. It's very selfish. But sometimes selfish is good. So I take time on my own. Sometimes I have kids, Grace. So sometimes, like the other day, I was like, I swear to God, someone needs to get these kids. Because me, I don't want to see them. They are mine. But hey, now I continue for a few days. I really need a break. Munanipigia makelele. And I called my cousin. I was like, can you have the kids? She was like, oh, of course. I was like, thank you. I told my house, I've ended up going for a week. And I was serious. I was like, can I just leave my house for just a week?
Everybody got
and I came to my house. I was like, yes. And I was like, this is selfish because I'm a mother, but I was like, I swear, I need it. And people need to understand, you time is the most important time. CJ, I've read almost the whole Bible. Do you know how important that is? I have my own time. Where siskin kitu a mom not in bad faith, siskin kitu tunakula, there's just silence.
Right.
And I keep telling people, like, I've learned every few weeks, every few days, I just switch off my phone. I need to go, sitaki kuongea na nini. Kwa nini sitaki kuongea na nini? I just want to, like, I've learned to say that. Because you see in our industry, everybody's like, Nikona shida, Nikona CJ, you can go mad. And I realized Jesus already died for us, I can't die for anyone. So I'm just here trying not to die in the process. So, me time and knowing yourself, and also the most important thing, CJ, if someone is going through any mental health issue, even if they're suspecting it is a mental health issue. Because the men, I talk to them a lot. Please talk. You don't even have to see a psychologist, I'm a psychiatrist. Don't go to a doctor. Talk to someone. If you think another man will judge you, find a woman. Find a random stranger. I did the funniest thing the other day. I called a random number. I just picked the number on the phone. So a certain mama picked. I gave her stories, I think, for an hour. I'm sure she thinks I'm a lunatic, but it felt it works.
I love what you're talking about, that thing of owning your space. There are certain phone calls nowadays I will not pick early in the morning. I have nothing against the person is something that I have learned how to own my space. I'm just thinking, okay, this one, the way it will engage me, I don't think I am in the mental space to come into it. And I think really then it means that your mental wellness is your responsibility.
It is.
Because you see, you do a lot and sometimes you still feel you have to be there for everybody. Who wants to call you, who wants to reach you, who needs something from you, from families to friends to social media. Needs you to post something. Facebook is saying, what's on your mind?
Tell us something.
And all of those things, and you feel you've got to respond to all of these things, and then there are all these messages that are coming in memes, and you are in like 10 WhatsApp groups, and they're forwarding all kind of crazy stuff. If you do not know how to just shut that down, you might shut down yourself.
It will force you to. It will force you to.
Grace.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was waiting for this moment.
Finally.
I'm going to try and be brief. First, I would like to say, be honest with yourself. Be very honest with yourself. You don't owe anybody anything.
All right.
Anybody anything. And I like that she said she took her kids elsewhere to be by herself. How many parents are actually, you know, aware enough to know I have gotten to that space, I need a break? Because if you don't take a break, you will lash out at those kids. Those kids will feel like you don't love them anymore.
Yeah. Right.
You will say some hurtful things and words will stick. Kids don't forget words. They will remember mommy said I am stupid. So every time someone else says mjinga wewe, she'll remember even my own mom said I was stupid, so I am stupid. You know, take time out. Take time out. And for people feeling like they need to, they owe social media a post every day, you actually don't. And I think you said something. You said something about people who've created a facade kind of life, and they've gotten to a place where they're like, I can't hide anymore. I need help. Crash, pick up.
All right.
There's nothing wrong with starting over.
Right.
I think we think when we start over, we have lost everything in life. Now we are doomed. No. You're not doomed. In fact, when you're honest with yourself is when you realize you'll make even better decisions. If you need to leave that job, by the way, do.
Amen.
Oh yeah.
Do. Because at the end of the day, let me get spiritual, you trust God for on the journey. And with the journey, the process is there. And I believe God loves people who are honest with themselves. If you become somebody else, then you're taking up another person's destiny, you're living yours. Who's supposed to sort yours? You're busy sorting somebody else's. Who's supposed to sort yours? When you're in yours is when God will even bring people who will come and even motivate you to continue. But if you're doing somebody else, people will be here waiting for you. You're on another side. You get. And then for people who've been abused when they're young, you don't have to speak about it publicly, maybe because you're scared. Find a therapist, find somebody mature enough who can actually understand you and not judge you, somebody who can walk with you, because pain of the past, these pains that we sweep under the carpet, be it grief, maybe somebody lost their parents and they swept it under the carpet. When you grow up, you realize you are resenting certain people, certain things you'll start to resent. Why? Because they remind you of something that you don't want to deal with. So be very, very honest with yourself. Take an audit. I always say take an audit. Sit down with yourself with a pen and write those things that you feel you need to address. And another thing as I wind up, if you are on social media and you feel the need to open a pseudo account to insult someone, take a break, find help. You are in trouble.
You need a therapist, right?
I know.
You are in trouble. If you feel the need to open a different account,
I can imagine a different
to
account,
insult someone,
energy.
the fact that you can't choose your own account should tell you something.
Yeah, you're hiding.
Yeah.
You're hiding.
So if you feel the need to start an account to insult somebody, stop, find help, because it will not end well.
Wow. Well, you know, we cannot even conclude this. So I'm going to see how we can have this conversation again, because there's quite a number of things that we need to talk about, including some of those triggers like grief.
Exactly.
At one point, I was reading something that, for example, for men, that a man even in his 40s, if he loses his mother, he might end up having to look for an extra woman. Just the kind of stuff, you know, that come into people's life. You know, those kind of things just totally shift people's behavior. You've said it is good for Annitah to send the kids away. I was laughing because I thought these kids might grow up one time and say, you know, my mother used to send me away, so they feel that they have been in an abusive relationship.
But you see, I don't tell them where they are going. I just make it really fun.
I'm just trying to tell you how this is such a conundrum, you know, that while you're trying to sort yourself out,
please don't tell them you're going away because I'm tired. When they grow up and
they're now famous,
they'll be giving that as a story. My mama.
Don't tell them. Just give an excuse.
Giving me a story, how you know.
No, then you know that the duty of it, CJ, is because I understood that, as she said, as a parent, sometimes you get angry for no reason. You're grumpy. And for me, with actually my panic attacks, I can really get scared and not leave my bedroom for 3 days. So I'll be like, I don't want my kids to ever see me like that. So I just tell my cousin, come and make it fun. Pick them yourself. Make it look like they're going for a trip. And they go for a while and they enjoy it.
I think we need another show for the triggers.
Yes,
very important.
So that very people know what are some of the things that...
heartbreak. My last trigger was a heartbreak.
Abandonment when you are young.
I know.
The comments were absolutely crazy. So you have Alan Lawrence. You became the comedian today. So Alan was saying, let me just see what Alan was saying. That small money and then what? You start looking for holiday destinations. Deborah Sharon, good to have you there. Dennis Njao was saying happiness is an inside job. Sometimes switching that social media space off could be an amazing gift to yourself. Faith, Vata, Faith and Alan were all playing games over here. I tell her Esther saying, I told you this show is on fire always. Faith also quoting, I think what Grace must have said, you owe nobody this pressure. And she says, Kuampole.
Point home.
Well, thank you all of you for tuning in. Reynard saying, I love this conversation. I feel like we should have this conversation again. We need to do the part 2 of it. So we talk about those triggers. We talk about even the parts, you know, some people would be going through some of these issues not knowing that they're going through them. And what are the things that they need to look out for? What are those things that begin to make you get to know that you need to seek help? You know, it's easier when it is a fever. When it's malaria, you know, it's a fever, it's something. When it comes to mental wellness, sometimes you may not really know that you need help, and we need to have this conversation. So I will talk to my panelists and see whether we can have this again. So watch out on the social media platform, CJ Scott on every platform. That is CJ Scott Official on Instagram, CJ Scott on Facebook, CJ Scott 1 on Twitter. Also CJ Atemo everywhere, including the YouTube channel. Till the next time, keep it right here on CJ Scott.